Hello, and welcome to part 4 of my Gnomoria tutorial where we learn to be a better gnoministrator, or a gnoministrator at all, because gnoministration is how gnomes gnoministrate. We were playing in this land, I believe. This land, I say we should call it your grave. Oh no, curse your sudden but inevitable treachery. Okay, yes, so this is where we left off, and just taking a quick look around to see what tasks had been ordered and what was going on. Reorienting myself. The miners had been given the not impossible, but tedious task, would be the right word, of mining, well, basically a quarter of this floor, and they were completing said task with much aplomb. They're not particularly needed on the surface, so it's not like I'm going to try and recall them anytime soon. We were continuing to cut clippings and grow out the groves, and these clippings for the apple trees are coming up next. Perfect. Continuing to craft planks to 12. We had just finished making my stone mason and not gotten around to making any use of it yet. We have dig orders out for the larder, for the distillery, for the kitchen. Oh, right. We had build orders on the kitchen. That was the most recent. And that knife, well, in particular. After which we're going to have to get to work upgrading our Great Hall. So, let's get back to work. Turn the clock on. I believe everyone, or most everyone, is asleep right now. Nope, everybody's busy. Crafting, clipping. We actually have an idle farmer, if you'll believe that, but I'm sure it won't last. At least I hope it won't last. Yeah, the idle farmer was just walking to the current clip jobs. Incidentally, when you're done with the clip jobs, I intend to make you stay useful. This is how I like to play the game. I don't like my folk ever to be idle. I consider idleness to be a sign that I have failed to instruct them to do sufficient stuff. Right now, the orders that I'm laying out are large blanket forage orders, so the purpose of which is to remove these obstructions on the ground, so that I can make use of that space for something. What exactly remains to be decided. Okay, turn the clock back on. And I want to point out that it's still day 4. This is very early on in the course of the game. Okay, we've got regular stone crafting going on there, and somebody's... Why is nobody coming here? The build orders clearly require... Oh, okay, so here's the deal. This workbench is going to be going in order, table, chair, knife, which means the knife is going to be put off until last. Problem is, I know that that's going to have to be done sooner rather than later, so we're going to go ahead and craft the knife blade here ahead of time. And if we have an auxiliary bench... This one's making chisels? Okay, never mind. What's this guy doing? Table for a build job. We're going to go ahead and make you make the hilt, or the... yeah, needed for the knife, and prioritize that first, because the table can technically be made elsewhere, I believe, right? And even if it can't, no, it can't. All right, well then it's a wash anyway. So whoever gets there first is fine with me. Turn up the speed. There's no need to take this slow. These apple cut clippings will provide adequate planting for my newfound apple grove here. Actually, these logs need to get transported in eventually. Really, what I want is a sawmill. It cuts planks it makes planks much faster than any of the things I currently have going on here. And who is this? It's probably one of the builders. Beautiful. He just made the knife blade, and now he's going to get to work making the blocks. Can you make a table out of stone? Perfect. Why don't you craft a stone table for me, actually? And that way I can tell the carpenter, just don't bother with the table. You just work on that hilt. Well, okay, whatever. Let him go at his own pace. Trying to micromanage can become, honestly, fairly tedious as well, so it's sometimes best to just let things go at their own pace. Yada yada yada, let that go. Who's idle and who's not? Okay. Things that we haven't really gotten into tutorial-wise are the idea of kingdom worth and raising the worth of your kingdom as a means of attracting people. We haven't gotten into military duties. All of these are important concepts that will be discussed more as they come up. Unfortunately, this video segment is well, probably not going to be where that comes up because time-wise, I'm still stuck doing crafting tasks for a while. So, depending on what we manage to get through, I'll mark it accordingly. Oh, it's wonderful. They're eating the oranges and putting the remaining pieces down there. And now the farmers are getting to work with the foraging and with the replanting of saplings. I guess the woodcutters are replanting the saplings, which is nice, that the apple trees have provided. Sleeps on the floor. So I usually treat sleeps on the floor as a excuse to check up on my gnomes. Make sure that they are not getting themselves killed somehow. Since they could fall asleep on the floor because they lack access to the dormitory, because they've gotten trapped. This is not usually the case. You'll notice this time I didn't even bother checking, but yeah, see, all the beds are filled, that's why. The Great Straw Harvest is probably going to start any time now, and when that happens, the farmers are going to have higher priority tasks to do. It's also something I'm looking forward to because, actually I should show you guys how to do this. Go to Stocks, Items, and now you can get an overview of all of the resources available in your kingdom. So for example, under Goods, and I just like checking the whole thing, 1,500 clumps, 2,000 raw stone, and lots of other stuff. I'm specifically looking to see how much straw I have. I'm down to 11 wheat straw total in my kingdom, so I really do need that wheat harvest to come in soon. Beautiful. The planks we have accumulated are enough to make that table. And we'll just cancel this. You know what I'm going to do? The miners fell asleep downstairs. Hope they're not trapped. I don't think they are, but they may be, and that's kind of concerning. I'm actually going to go ahead and cancel this build job. No, they're not. That guy was able to come down and up just fine. I'm going to cancel this giant dig job that I have going, so that they are free to help out with the hauling, and they can get to work on the more important tasks upstairs, and free to help out with the crafting. All of which are important things for my miners to be doing. Okay. Now that we have this little area cut out here, let's go ahead and order me up a... Problem with ordering too many ongoing tasks is you lose track of which ones the game is doing in which order, and then none of them actually get done. But in this case, I only have one outstanding workshop to be built, so I don't mind queuing up a second. And in this case, I'm going to go with the stone statue maker, or the stone carver, because I do want to raise the value of my kingdom in time to get a couple extra gnomes for next summer. Alright, so the apple orchards are going well. The farmers are finishing up foraging tasks for me. And honestly, because of all the orange tree clippings, I think I'm just going to extend my grove even further. So I'm going to have an abundance of oranges and a moderate number of apples, with a relatively low number of strawberries. Heck, at this point I have twice as many strawberry seeds as I have planted strawberries, so I'm going to extend the strawberry farm for the remainder of that line, and order the felling of those trees that are in its way. Perfect. Could take a while for all that to get done, so we'll leave it be. Are the miners idle? Not yet. They have been reduced to hauling tasks, however, so they're getting there. To the point of idleness. The knife needs crafting. One of the miners is doing that. The marble knife is crafted. Excellent. Now the stone cutter has a standing order to make sure that we always have 10 stone blocks. Are we at 10 stone blocks? I'm just curious. Items, goods, stone. 10 blocks. Excellent. Up the order to 15 then. Actually, up the order to 20. I anticipate needing more and more every minute. And let's zoom in so we get a better view of this area. I kinda like the idea of dumping all my stone blocks in one place that's central to use. So what we're gonna do is this same area that is designated as a raw stone pile will also be designated as a place to keep the blocks that are produced temporarily. I'm going to come up with better organization down the road, because the blocks could either be used here or here, so just run them back and forth. Meanwhile, the stone carver is only shy a workbench. Wait, but is the kitchen complete? Because if the kitchen isn't complete, that's probably the priority right now. Nope, the kitchen is not complete and is being completed as we speak. Now, the kitchen is great because it can turn raw wheat grain into loaves of wheat bread, which is basically a very solid source of food in the game. We're not at that point yet, but when the wheat harvest comes in, we will be. Incidentally, when the wheat harvest comes in, we're going to need a lot of agricultural land for it, and 106 plots to 32 seeds is plenty. So speed it up. I unfortunately do not have that much to teach at the moment. I like to teach as things come up, and right now nothing's coming up. You'll notice that I've come across copper and coal. These things are useful for smelting down my metals, which unfortunately there's not a whole lot to do right now. Okay, you are clearly wasting time, so let us make, because the other miner is free, let us go ahead and craft 8 chairs. These will serve multiple purposes, and it's like 4 blocks to a chair, so this is going to deplete my block supply. I'm going to be making a lot of blocks in order to keep these tasks going. That's fine. What I want to do is put these chairs in my great dining hall, and then set up tables for my folk to eat on. It's not like they actually care whether they eat on the floor or eat on a chair, but the worth of my hall will increase for having those chairs and tables in there, and that's always nice. And higher worth will make other nomads be like, oh hey, we should come there, it's valuable. And it will make enemies, of course, be like, hey, that place looks good enough to raid, so, you know, there's the good and the bad side to it. I'm actually gonna... I think what I might end up doing is just making this video sort of a recommend to skip, because it's pretty basic stuff that's happening here. Okay, beautiful. On account of the fact that we've been able to run multiple production lines at once, this stonemason or carver is already complete. So let's go ahead and make a pair of statues as well. And let's insist that they both be made out of the same kind of ore. In this case, basalt. That way, they will look nice. Stonemason, go ahead and cancel all your standing orders, please. How many chairs did we actually make in the end? 4. 3 in basalt, 1 in marble. I kinda like the coordination for my Great Hall. I may end up deconstructing things if I don't have the right style and color. And clearly basalt is what I have the most of in my raw piles at the moment. And it seems that the orange grove is being fully planted. A lot of crossover early on, especially between my farmers and my woodcutters, so yeah. Incidentally, this plot is big enough for when they give birth, right? Okay, good. It's kind of important. Down to 8 straw people. I really hope that wheat harvest comes in soon. In the meantime, since I'm waiting for on build orders everywhere, let's go ahead and build me another workshop. In this case, a market. What a market does is when... Actually, no, not a market. A distillery. I'm doubtlessly running lower and lower on drink supplies, and it will be helpful to have a drink supplier outside of my larder. What's a good spot for it? I could put it here, or I could put it here. Yeah, here's fine. A little bit out of the way. Perfect, so they can turn my fruits into wines. The kitchen has been made, and you'll notice that if I have grain, meat, or milk, I can make various forms of base food. Sausage, cheese, and bread. And from there, I can further craft that up to sandwiches or cheese omelets and all, depending on how many factors of production I have. I'm surprised I don't have any yak milk, considering that I have 2 active yaks. But, is my rancher still alive? My rancher has been customized, so his job is more than just ranchering, which is fine. Meanwhile, I've got an idle builder crafter, and perfect. So my town is coming along quite nicely. I could set up a cotton farm. In fact, I should set up a cotton farm. Let's do that out of the way somewhere so I don't mind it as much. Because I don't really like cotton farming, though it's important to do. Tell you what, let's set it up here. Agriculture, farm... Meh. Cotton. I have enough to actually plant 60 right out the gate. So let's extend this farm some. Cotton is important for the making of cloth and bandages, all of which requires, well, I'll get there in a second. Suffice it to say, if you want to make beds, you're going to need cloth for the linens for the beds and all of that. But eventually you're going to need something that sews, which means bones, and getting those bones is actually quite tricky. Standing orders are to build the distillery, and the statue orders have actually been completed. Great. So let's go ahead and place our statues. How are we going to do this? I want them to be guarding the gates, so let's hit F to lower the floors. Build. Furniture. Statues. Build 2 statues. Let's see, this is the main entrance, so let's have them flanking the entrance just for aesthetics. One facing this way, and hit R to rotate, one facing the other way. The builders will now come and complete that task by carrying the necessary ingredients, in this case a statue, to these statues. You can see it's in green because it's about to get done. Clearly this hall is very dark. It would be nice to light it up. Let's make some torches. What does it take to make torches? Well, why don't we find out? Build. Furniture. Blah blah blah. Torch. Okay, where is it made? Doesn't say where it's made. Grr. Well, presumably it's going to be made at a wood shop, right? Because it requires some kind of wood. There it is. Torch. We need a stick and we need coal, and I have apparently unearthed 40 coal. Excellent. So let us craft, standing orders, craft up to 6. Now, you'll notice that when I craft stuff, it gets stacked over here, in this panel, adjacent to the crafting store. There's an upper limit of, I want to say 20 items in that stack, at which point it ceases to function. So I do need to keep making a place to move these torches to. And in this case, I'm going to designate this area for torches that I have made. The reason being, torches are later on in the game going to be used to light up the mines that I've dug out, and that's a very important feature, since that can prevent the spawning of certain kinds of enemies that only spawn in the dark. Yeah. In order to do that, however, I'm going to need somebody to carry it down there, and for that person to have a shorter walk, it'd be nice to have the torches start nearby. So let's go ahead and make torches. That said, I can obviously carry those torches anywhere, and lighting up my great hall with 1, 2, 3, 4 torches would be a good little move. How are we doing for spare tables, if indeed any? Only the 1? Yeah, okay, well, we'll hold off then. The strawberry farm is already getting reaping harvest sooner than the wheat farm. That's why I make the wheat farm my top priority. It takes more sunlight and more time to grow. Anybody idle? And this is honestly a lot of what happens in the game, is you're spending the time, much like in SimCity, waiting for certain tasks to complete. Oh, was that yak milk? That's totally yak milk. Why did you say I don't have any milk? Kitchen. I want to make cheese. There we go, I do have milk. Oh, they've been drinking the yak milk is the thing. Well, we're just going to go ahead and craft yak cheese out of the yak milk. And we'll see which foodie is available to do that task for me. There we go. Somebody totally came and made cheese. And that cheese is now valid to be stored in the larder, I believe. You'll notice that I put all of these pine crates, and they're already all filled to the brim with the fruits. What I'm going to do is designate the area around my distillery as a legal stockpile for additional fruits. In fact, let's go ahead and dig a a small back panel for the storing of additional fruit. Because clearly the distillery is going to make good use of that quantity of fruit. And the less distance the guy has to keep moving to gather more fruit to continue making wines, the better. Priority 5 though, it's not super important to keep it stocked at all. I guess, I don't know if yak cheese is legally stored here or if it's just out of space, so let's figure that out real quick. Goods. Food of all varieties is allowed here, perfect. So we just need more crates in my larder to store my excess food. This is not a bad thing to have an excess of food. Actually, what I'm considering doing is, if I hollow this area out, I can make an even bigger larder. And I'm the kind of guy that likes to have vast stockpiles of food, so, you know. So go ahead and designate this whole area as a stockpile for food. Okay, except like one tile, I guess. And, even order the building of a new storage crate, so that we can put 32, items of food there. And build a storage barrel, so we can do another one. And you'll notice that these tasks take up a lot of planks, and that means I'm constantly queuing up stuff here at the carpenter, which is queuing up stuff here, so people are being kept constantly busy. That's why I have baseline orders like this. Always make sure I have 12 planks on hand, so that we can take the edge off that kind of production. The farmers are finally hitting the point where they are starting to work cyclically. This comes up, then this comes up, and this comes up, and this comes up. I think. If not, I will keep giving them more work until they are. The woodsmen are beginning to get busy, here I believe? No, that's still the off-work folk. If anybody is busy doing hauling, that needs to be fixed. Planting, stocking, yep, the miners are busy stocking, the crafters are busy stocking, so that's a problem. So here's what we're gonna do. Carpenters, you also are gonna be put on, craft duty. What happened to my standing order for torches? It must have not gone through properly. I want 6 torches made at all times. So, be sure to, you know, keep crafting them torches. Miners have already done their work here. The stonemason, is that stonecutter has a 20 block order and that's already been fulfilled? Seriously? That's impressive if you guys have gotten 20 stone blocks done. They have, which means I need to be constantly using those stone blocks now. So, use basalt blocks to make me a bunch of statues. Let's craft 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more statues. That should wipe out my stone supply, right? Also, let's start making chairs first. A couple chairs, a couple tables. 4 chairs and a table would be not bad for a pair of tables would be not bad for a start. And it's these are all unfortunately on all blocks, and I want it to be color coded, so let's go basalt. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2. Good, and we can cancel this. Just a statue or 2. Overflow is fine. So I've given overflow orders there, and the stonecutter is going to constantly feel obligated to make 20 more stone blocks. So everybody should be busy doing work that they're actually paid to do here, instead of just hauling. The cotton farms are up, by the looks of it. Though, no, they apparently never... Here's the thing, they didn't finish the job on the cotton farm, because the strawberry farm came up, and though they're at the same priority, I don't know, they must have been like, picking fruit is more important than planting new seeds. These logs... Where are my tree people? They're doing crafting tasks. That's fine. I'm gonna give you guys a deforestation task for when you're good and ready. These apple trees can totally come down now. Those apple saplings, on the other hand, please keep cutting more clippings and making that a thing. I want the apple grove up as well as the orange grove. Now, I should tell you that at this point in the development cycle of this game, which is still, I believe, in alpha? I don't think it's in beta yet. At this point, there is literally no gameplay difference between fruit types. An orange does the exact same thing that a grape does the exact same thing that a strawberry does. The only difference is that the flavor of wine comes out different, but that has no gameplay difference. It's merely an aesthetic choice. Those torches still haven't come, which tells me that the people who are supposed to be doing it are constantly getting other jobs, which is good. I want everyone to be busy. That's kind of the point. Righto, let's order a market stall too. And I am hoping you're getting the sense from this that I like to have there be constant tasks being done, because that adds to the efficiency of my overall city. A market stall will potentially attract a trader whom I can sell raw resources to in exchange for goods. Whoa, what's this? What's this? What's this? The first wheat of the season is finally coming up. Excellent. The wheat harvest will occupy my people, since it's a top priority job. When wheat is harvested, 3 things come. Wheat grain, additional straw, and wheat seeds that you can use to expand the wheat farm. Let's put a standing order to designate this area around here as a stockpile for wheat grain, which is a form of food. Okay, I'm not seeing it here. Is it under plant? It is. All wheat grain must be brought directly to the kitchen. And that way, whoever is on the duty of crafting bread will have no problem doing so. Since miners are the ones responsible for building these stone things, and they are generally not busy with any other tasks, my stone tasks tend to be done a little bit more efficiently than my other tasks. That's 8 chairs, which should be about the amount that I made. And I made some tables too, yes? Yes, put the basalt table. I think 1, 2, let's start with 1. And actually, let's pull this line of chairs back to match the greatness that this hall will one day be. I'm gonna have to make a double row of chairs, I believe, like pair here, running tables all the way down with lights, and maybe replace the entire floor or something. That would be cool too. For the time being, let them proceed on their tasks. And of course you'll notice that now the builders have gone to work carrying out those tables, while the wheat harvest continues to grow grain. And through it all, nobody has forgotten about the open task at the market stall. Instead, the tables that are being crafted have turned into wooden tables for the most part, which is fine. Stonemason should be ordered to continue working on tables, though, since they're obviously going to be useful in the upcoming future. And there you have it. I'm probably going to cut this video short at this point. I kind of feel bad I didn't teach anything this video. But we did start to see the first wheat harvest, and you should have noticed that the farm went from it's grown 2 more planted slots, which is good. The orchards are continuing, and I hope, even though I haven't really talked about it too much, you've begun to get a sense of how important food production is. These fruit trees were a real godsend, because I got this giant bumper crop of oranges and apples earlier on. If I had been reliant on my strawberry farms, I would have been limited to the production I could get from here. Though seeing that these seeds are not being planted, I really should, in fact I will, just designate more area for strawberry farming. So this whole area should be like a strawberry farm with planted plots and all. But that's more than sufficient at this point. I don't need any more. This cotton farm, is it maxed? No, but it's getting there. It's not like I have extra cotton seeds, I guess. Oh, I do have more cotton seeds. Well, yeah, well then we need to keep it going. That's fine. Okay, so the big thing I guess that I kind of have shown here is the value of these production queues, of having these standing orders to produce X or Y, and how that keeps your town running efficiently with less clicks and less commands. We've got the distillery up and running, and presumably doing its work. Nope, we never ordered it to do anything, did we? Go ahead and make me I want a standing order to craft 64 wine. I have 3 barrels that can contain 64 wine each. Actually, we should maybe up the ante on that. The bottom line is I never want to go below 64 wines. And it looks like we already have somebody here who's fairly efficient because they're going grab a fruit, make a wine. Grab a fruit, make a wine. So, you know, because it's that efficient, I don't mind upping the minimum from the distillery to 96. In short, I want a 1.5 barrels filled at all times. The wheat harvest is ready, and as soon as my farmers are awake, I'm sure they'll get on it. Alright, that's as good a point to stop as any, I suppose. Now that we've gotten through the early game, it's gonna be sort of autopilot-y until we start getting into military, and until I finally start having some bones to work with. So, I'll reserve judgment on what to teach until that point comes. Alright, thank you all for watching. I will see you guys next time!